Our state championship coaches, we have several here today. Our first speaker is in his 5th year as a head coach at St. Helena. He played at East St. John and Elkhorn State. Previously served as an assistant at Columbus High in Mississippi. He's guided his Hawks to the state semifinals a year ago, and he has his 6th-seeded Hawks in the Class 2A state championship game against top-seeded Welsh Friday at noon in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Please give a warm quarterback club welcome to Coach Brice Brown of St. Helena. Brennan?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm just excited and elated to be here today. This has been a real wonderful experience for me. This is my first time being a head football coach and also athletic director at St. Helena. And I'll be honest with you, when I took this job 5 years ago, I stepped into a job that hadn't had success in a while. And I went in with a plan. And I know it kind of sounds cliche when people say just trust the process. However, that's exactly what we did at St. Helena. We went in with a plan. I went in with a 5-year plan, and so we were right where we want to be. Not ironically, I just think it's just the work of the Lord. In my plan, I had at year number 5 we would be competing and winning a state championship, and here we are today, getting ready to compete for a state championship. So, it's just a testament of how we worked and how we just stayed and trusted the plan, trusted the Lord number 1, and then we trusted our plan. And so. I've just been excited. We've had a great football season this year, played some very good competition, and I think that kind of allowed us and helped us to be where we are today. And so, I just, I can't thank everyone enough, everyone that has supported me this far to get us to this point. So if you have a chance, please come by and watch us this Friday as we take on Welsh. Welsh is a very good opponent that we'll be playing, and so. Our guys are excited. I challenge our guys this year, my senior class, to improve. I challenge them to leave this program better than they found it. And the tough challenge to them was, the senior class ahead of them left the program in the semifinals on last year, and so that was the challenge. And so those guys stepped up to it, and I asked them to find a reason why. And this past Friday, as we played Faraday, we found our reason why. We had actually, Aaron Hurst, he's been our heart and soul of our football team, and most of you have heard of it. He had a neck injury and he had to have neck surgery. He's been our heart and soul all year, and so our team right now has a reason why. And so we're going to come out, we're going to play with a lot of passion. We want to win this state championship for Aaron Hurst. Any questions?
Coach, how is Aaron Hurst this week?
Aaron is doing fine. I spoke with, matter of fact, me and my coaching staff was at the hospital with him on Saturday after surgery, and the funny thing was Aaron had two requests. He said, "Coach, win me a state championship, and number 2, Coach, make sure I don't fail." And I said, "What do you mean by fail?" He said, "Coach, I had a 3-page essay to do Monday, but I can't get it turned in, Coach. I'm in this hospital." And I said, "Aaron, don't worry about that. We're gonna make sure everything is taken care of." But he's doing fine. I spoke with his dad on yesterday, and the blessing it all on Sunday. Aaron was asking to get up, and so with the help of the doctors, he did take a few steps. The doctor said it may be a year or 2 years before he can learn to walk again, but he took some steps on Sunday, so that's a blessing. Any other questions?
Yeah, where is St. Helena?
St. Helena is located in Greensburg, Louisiana. And the funny thing about it, if you want to know, this is the way I explain it to people. I get that question a lot. I say, "Look, you ever heard of Kentwood?" "Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're a powerhouse." "You ever heard of A-Meat?" "Yes, they're a powerhouse." We right in the middle. And so that's what we are. And, that's been the beauty of it, being able to compete with those schools over the years. And so we was fortunate enough last year. We lost the game to Kentwood 13-14 at the last second. And, this year we lost a tough game to A-Meat during the regular season. Was able to beat them in the quarterfinals. And, it meant a lot for our program. It meant a lot for the community, and now they understand and they know that we're able to compete with some of those top-tier teams.
Coach, talk about playing A-Meat and Independence since this year they dropped down to 2A from 3A.
Well, it was tough. It was tough, having to compete with those teams. However, for the last couple of years we've been playing Independence, and A-Meat is always a rivalry, and so we've been playing A-Meat as well. But now this year was really intense because it mattered. It was the district championship on the line, and so it mattered when we played them this year. Not saying it didn't matter any other time other than bragging rights, but this time it really mattered. And then the second go around, it really mattered because the loser went home, and so fortunately enough that it wasn't us. Anyone else? All right, thank you.
Again, that end game is at noon. It's really a blessing, and want to thank Brandon for making the trip here and being here with us today. He understands the mission to get exposure for his school and his program, and that's why he made the trip. So thank him again. Give him a round of applause for being with us one more time. Our next speaker is a native of New Orleans. In his third year as the head coach at West St. John, played at McDonough 35 and under Eddie Robinson and Grambling. He guided his Rams to the quarterfinals in both of his previous seasons as head coach, and now he's got his top-seeded Rams in the Superdome playing for the state championship against the third seed Kentwood Thursday at noon. Please give a warm quarterback club welcome to Coach Brandon Walters of the West St. John Rams. Brandon?
Good afternoon. It's fortunate to be back here again. To be back here means you're doing something right. We're pretty excited about having the opportunity to play in the state championship. We feel like we're overdue. As Mr. Trahan said, the last 2 seasons we were in the quarterfinals. Before that, we were in the semis every year since 2011. That was our last state championship appearance. So the kids know how to win. We've had some tough games this year. Logan Sport was a good opponent. They gave us everything. But our guys seem to be on a mission. We talk about it a lot. We're pretty excited about having the opportunity, especially to play Kentwood again. We've lost to them the past 2 seasons, some pretty close games, and we feel like we were right there and should have won them. So we look forward to the opportunity to play them again, and we're just getting ready for it. It's crazy out there in Edgar right now. It's been that way for the past 2 or 3 weeks. It's always pretty crazy on game day, but right now it's just amazing. And my phones have died the past 2 days in a row. It's just crazy. It's a wonderful opportunity. I'm excited for the community, for the kids, and some of those guys that have been there since 8th grade. I've taught them in 6th and 7th grade at the elementary school. Just to watch those guys grow up and to live out their dreams. These kids grow up as little kids watching the greats at West St. John in the past, and they all come up believing that they'll be them next. We have little kids that come on our practice field. They want to put on the shoulder pads and a helmet and run around. Sometimes they get in the drills with us. Some nephews and little brothers and cousins and stuff like that, and they all just want to be a part of it. West St. John is a great place, but they love football, and they really are behind them, and it's just an exciting experience, and I'm glad and elated to be a part of it. Any questions?
Over here.
Yes, sir.
Coach, just talk about the excitement in the community and what it's been like bringing West St. John back to where they're used to be.
At West St. John, it's a lot of pressure, I must say that. They expect the championship, and even getting here to it, we still have some naysayers, that comes with it. But they live and breathe football, and they want the program and the school to be successful. They have great academics there also, but they put a lot of focus on how well the football team does. It's pretty much the only thing, in the area, in that town. And Friday nights, everything shuts down, and they turn the lights on in the stadium, and it's everybody in there. They start tailgating sometimes at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning on game days, and they call in all the time, Coach, you ready to do this, you ready to do that, it's a good experience. We have a lot of people that support the program and support what we do, and they kind of help it go. They make it a lot easier sometimes on me and the staff to get some things done, but it's a great place. It's a great place, and it's definitely a football school, and they're just happy to be back, and we're going to try to get in there and make everybody proud.
Coach, talk about the atmosphere. Well, you already mentioned it. I mean, I've driven by West St. John a couple mornings and seen them start tailgate at 11 o'clock the morning after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Talk about the keys to having your team defeat Kentwood this week.
I say it a lot. West St. John is, within our team, we're our biggest enemy. When we don't execute well, sometimes our youth shows itself. We have a lot of young kids on the team. All of our skilled guys are 10th and 11th graders. Most of the trenches guys are linemen. They're the seniors. So they kind of hold it together. We have some other upperclassmen in good spots, but they just, they follow the lead of the upperclassmen, and we kind of go with that model. But I think our success depends on how well we do. No disrespect to Kentwood, but we know that when we play our best football, it doesn't matter who we play. The kids are going to be ready for it, and they thrive under the lights. They love the experience, and it brings out the best of them. Depending on the opponent that we play, the better they are, the better our kids perform.
Anyone else?
Anyone else? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Got his Letterman sweater. I love it, man. Should be a great game Thursday at noon. Hope you'll have a chance to be there and enjoy it. Our next speaker in his 6th year at De La Salle High School was a player and a coach at Archbishop Rummel previously, and of course took the job at De La Salle and has built that program from scratch to being an undefeated #1 seed after taking them to the semifinals a year ago. Cavaliers will play in the Division II state championship on Friday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. against #2 seed, the unbeaten University Lab. Please give a warm quarterback club welcome to Coach Ryan Manale of the De La Salle Cavaliers.
Thank you, Ken. Excuse my voice. Not many hours of sleep right now, and I guess the weather change and trying to figure out where we're practicing at with the weather. Next 2 days has me nervous, but could be more excited to represent De La Salle and be here today. It's a truly honor. The alums of the school, it's amazing. It's amazing the alums of De La Salle reaching out and coming back and just seeing how great De La Salle is as we continue this path to greatness. And any alum that's listening that haven't been back to the Avenue, now's the time to check it out. And I'm just gracious and humble to be a part and leading De La Salle High School. Our team this year, we're led by 19 seniors. It's the largest senior class we've had in 6 years and the most successful class we've had. It's been a journey. We've played a very tough, grueling schedule and made out of it just fine in earning the #1 seed in the state. Ranked #1 all year in the state and earned the #1 seed. Them 19 seniors they've really impacted our program. It's almost like my own sons for sure. I've been with them from when they've been 8th graders, so 5 straight years. It's going to be very tough to lose them guys. It all starts with our quarterback, Julian Gullums. But even in front of them, if you ever hear Julian talk, he always talks about his offensive line. He runs behind. No doubt playing the schedule we did this year, people thought I was crazy in the beginning, but I thought we had a good senior class, and it's deserved to get them to play against really most of the teams that called to play. We said yes, just to play against some of the best teams in the state because our kids deserve it. Everybody asks us to turn around at De La Salle in 6 years. And the biggest thing I can tell you about this football team is when we inherited the program with 28 kids, we did things very different. We had 14% of our program had over 3.0 GPA. And we practiced 3 days a week, and we actually went to tutoring and some more life lesson classes 2 days a week, just changing the culture. And that lasted for about a year and a half. And the big things I told the guys is we're going to become student athletes of high character and to fall in love with the weight room. And these guys have done that. They've been with me for 5 years. And now we compete in the state championship Friday afternoon. And with 58% of our program in our locker room with 3.0 above. If you want to see who that is, we have little 3.0 stickers that go on back of the helmets for they compete and see it. And they earn it. And just a great championship locker room to go with it. So couldn't be more proud of our program and our school at De La Salle. Our opponent in University Lab, it's interesting, like I told the guys. people are sending me, and we have a coach that's real big on the computers, and we know what you're talking about. I do not, even though I'm a young coach. But he posts that we've been #1 in the state all year long. U-High's been #2 in the state all year long in 3A from pretty much day one. And it's been a crash course. I remember doing interviews in the middle of the season, and they asked me, can we just stop the season now where both teams are healthy and playing the championship? Then you go to all the kids, everybody watches Max Preps and where you're ranked in the nation. In the national ranking as U-High #1 in all of Louisiana, and De La Salle #2 of all Louisiana. So in our minds, we have some very good football teams in Louisiana, but our opponent is well, deservingly ranked. They do a great job. Coach Mahaffey's their head football coach. He's done an incredible job. They've been practicing in the indoor facility at LSU preparing for the game. I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to practice on a patch of grass, but we'll get it done. And they are a high up-tempo offense. They're going to snap it as quick as they can when they get a first down. Defensively, they're very stout. They've played some very good competition. Where their ranking is at because of their strength of schedule. They've beaten 3 teams that are in the state championships and yet to play a game into the 4th quarter. The closest game they played all year was against Zachary when they defeated Zachary 26-7. Then they also beat Catholic High 36-7, and they're just a well-oiled machine in all 3 phases. And we hope we are the same. And the schedule we played from playing teams like Karr, it hopefully prepared us for this moment physically. And we're excited about it and can't wait to Friday at 3:30. And all the alums and fans, hopefully your ready-made plans to take off and make it a long weekend. That way you're there at the 3:30 start on Friday. At this time, is there any questions?
Coach, talk about some of your uptown neighbors helping you with practice facilities, such as Nord with Harold Park and Tulane with use of Gilman Stadium.
The big different thing is De La Salle is we have no field on campus. We have a grass space of about 30 yards that the students use for lunch that we can jump on a little bit and walkthroughs that we try to do. But we always travel. We're always on the road. And this year I think we played 3 home games. And people ask for home. I said, where's home? We always on the road. We always in a bus traveling to practice. So we used to playing anywhere. We've been practicing at Helena Park. Very fortunate that's been open and we're able to rent that. We pay every single day when we practice. We got to pay to practice. So we rent out Nord at Harrell, which is about a 20-minute bus route for us, even though it's probably a 20-minute walk as well. But when you get uptown traffic, that's the way it goes. And then if not, we've been renting out Tulane. They've been gracious enough to let us rent out that stadium at times when we can. So it's been nice, but it's great for team bonding when we do get on the road on the buses.
Coach, you touched on it a little bit, but talk about this senior class has kind of grown up with you as a coach, and what are you going to be your emotions whether you win or lose? I mean, as far as this class when this is their final game, and just your feelings about them.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, but our relationship's so strong. It's going to be the last game in their maroon De La Salle uniform, and but it's not going to be the last time we talk on the phone or make sure that them guys are okay. And we have a great relationship. They know my door's always open. My cell phone's always available for them and their families at any time. And it's going to be painful when they do leave. But like I told the kids, there's not many selfish things I say, but I was very, very selfish in letting them know in the semifinals that I want to be their coach in their final game in high school when everybody wants to be the state championship. And so it's just funny hearing the kids on campus, today left tackle comes up and he goes, our last Tuesday, yesterday, our last Monday. So it's pretty special. It's a special group that really helped build a school with some other great people and great programs that we have, both academically and athletically.
Coach, talk about some of the programs at De La Salle, like 3 state championships, 2 in wrestling, 1 in basketball, and basketball defeated U-High for the title this year. It looks like a little rivalry is starting between De La Salle and U-High.
Well, Coach Mahaffey and U-High, the last 3 years, we've always been close. And we've always been that game before pairing up. And I run into him at different universities during the off season. I love just going to be a sponge and study from some of the best. And I just sit there, and when I look at him, he's the same way. A lot of guys go there and in the halls talking and just, you know, asking a lot of questions, and that's really not us. We sit in the back of that room and just take notes and just listen and then just kind of leave. And so it's kind of, it's great to be playing him, and it's exciting. But as far as De La Salle, it all starts up top. You know, our president 6 years ago was Dr. Gilliard, and he told us all, he visioned us all on a path to greatness. One of the greatest role models I ever got to know in just a couple of years. He touched my life in a couple of years, just a great man, brought in pieces. You know, our athletic director who's been there is an alum, Tony Benora, who's with us today. He hired myself and hired Coach Paul Kelly, who's now the principal. You know, and that's where it all starts, is that, you know, Coach Paul Kelly's our principal and a head basketball coach. It's very unique. His father was Mr. Eamon Kelly, Dr. Eamon Kelly, who ran the University of Tulane, ran Tulane academic program for years and years. So what I love about him is how demanding he is in the classroom for our players and teachers. I joke all the time. I have a defensive line coach. You know, he's a big guy. He's always funny, and he's in the classroom teaching history, loves it. And he says, if it weren't for Coach Kelly, I wouldn't be the teacher I am. He's groomed to a very good teacher. He says it's almost like the principal has a button. Whenever I decide to sit down after speaking for 30 straight minutes, I sit down. As soon as I sit down, there's his nose in the window, almost like he has a button under my chair. So it all starts with the leadership of just making sure that the faculty's doing great, the students are doing great, the learning environment's great, and he has an academic program along with a few other folks just doing great. Now, our current president is Mr. Jambaluka, who spent many years at Jesuit High School, and he prides himself on academics, and it's just a great mesh because we have first-class academics with first-class athletics, and that was the vision of our original president. Athletically, you know, as the question was asked, yes, our basketball team won a state championship last year in defeating U High. Our wrestling program's been back-to-back champions. You know, baseball program had a great summer in Legion, and I'm looking forward to what they're going to do this year. And just, you know, every little aspect of De La Salle is just on that path to greatness, and we have arrived, but we still have ways to go because you can always improve. And like we pray every day with my kids, stay humble and hungry. So you're always humble, and you're always hungry to outwork somebody or outperform somebody, whether it's in the classroom, community, or the field. But any other questions? Yes, sir.
How many players on your team are going to be playing at the next level?
Well, right now we have two key players that have we have a safety that's committed to Kansas State. We have a defensive tackle committed to Tulane. Everyone else, we have one other commit, and Julian Gums that's committed to Nickel State. Outside of that, we have several other good collegiate-type players that we just waiting on somebody to pull a trigger. It's always that inch taller they look for, that, you know, that much faster. But we know we have, and they're great kids, and I think they're going to land perfectly fine. But hopefully we get to sign several guys like last year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Again, De La Salle and U High Friday, 3:30 p.m. in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Making his annual appearance, or so it seems, in his third season, a player, former assistant coach at Karr. He's guided the Cougars to the last 4A state championship in 2015, won it in 2016. His program's in the Dome for, what, 7th time in 8 years. Amazing. Metro Coach of the Year the last 2 years. And, of course, the top-seeded Cougars are in the state title game in 4A again against the second-seed unbeaten Lakeshore, Saturday afternoon, 3:30 p.m. in the Superdome. Please give a warm welcome to Coach Brice Brown. Brice?
Thank you, Mr. T. Right quick, I just want to acknowledge Mr. Tran and Mr. Ed Daniels for what they do for high school sports. And, you know, for me, you know, always the guys up front, you know, they always have great guys that's along you and behind you that make all of this stuff work. So a quick round of applause for those two gentlemen and what they do for high school sports. You know, very excited to be a part of the 4A state championship game again. If you would have told me 3 years ago that I would have made to the Karr Cougars would have made to the state championship 3 years in a row, I would have said you're out of your mind. You know, when you deal with 15 and 16 and 17-year-old kids on a daily basis, you don't know what to expect. Just like Mr. Bonan was talking about social media, you know, I'm not a big social media guy. I got coaches who handle that kind of stuff because there's a daily struggle with that kind of battle, with that kind of stuff going on, especially with recruiting and everything that's going on. So, you know, we got the early signing day period coming up along with the state championship. You know, it's very, you know, taxing on the kids being pulled out of class and, you know, trying to stay focused on ACT on Saturday also. So, you know, we got to keep things in perspective sometime. But again, not complaining, but elated about being in the state championship game to represent Karr and, you know, represent everything that's being done the right way. I think, like I said before, on Friday we played a tough game against Warren Easton, and it was supposed to be tough. But you know, after the game, we talked about appreciation and how you appreciate those moments like that in your life that make it better. You know, and win, lose, or draw, you take something from those type of games. You know, also on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you know, they're going to be winners and they're going to be losers, but at the end of the day, all of those kids are winners because they fought hard, they prepared long. You know, football has turned into a 12-month sport. You know, these kids lift weights in the off season, in the summer, then when we get to July and August, they're going to camp, and that daily grind and that daily hustle of being perfect, you know, not being able to being called out of class because you have a discipline problem or because you want to have A's and B's like Coach Manale talked about. You know, we have to preach more than football. We have to preach more about academics also, and that's what it takes. It takes that consistent balance to maintain, you know, this day and age of kid, because where so many people are patting them on their back and telling them how good of a job they're doing, you know, we can't spare the rod because we have to preach discipline. We have to teach consistency, and you know, sometimes not always reading what's in those papers. So, you know, again, appreciative of every text, every call. You know, just like Coach Walters, you know, your phone, it just go crazy. You just can't even imagine. Mine just rung about 20 times as I'm sitting there, you know, because everybody's concerned about the weather for today and tomorrow and Thursday because of the rain and how we're going to practice. But as I always tell them, everything's going to work itself out, just like on Saturday. You know, on Saturday we have to prepare and we got to do what's best, and this thing is going to work itself out. That's all we have to do is put our best foot forward, and that's doing it the Karr way. So any questions for me?
Just comment on Lakeshore, if you will, and who you faced.
Lakeshore is an outstanding team. You know, a lot of people are talking about the schedule that they played, but I can tell you what, that they have a great quarterback. And, you know, all those college recruiters that come to Karr, I tell them about that kid over at Lakeshore High School because he's really the engine that makes it go. And we have to rush the passer, we have to be able to stop the running, we have to be able to stop the big play. So, you know, it's going to be a good game on Saturday. If you're not tired from Thursday and Friday, come and check us out. But it should be a good show.
Coach, kind of following up on what Kenny asked, but how do you guard against, you know, you got the David against Goliath here, and you've been in the state championship 7 out of the last 8 years your program has been, and a team that had never won a playoff game before this year has rolled through. They're 14-0, and they've got a lot of belief in themselves. And you know, obviously, you're coming off a tough physical battle against Warren Easton. How do you get your kids to guard against a team that maybe isn't as quite as athletic as you guys, but certainly believes in themselves just as much as you guys did?
You know, I wish we was dated in this one. I think, you know, for the kids, that'll be a reset for them. But again, you're dealing with 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, and what we can do as adults is preach that, you know, you can't overlook any opponent, especially in the state championship game. Lakeshore's in the state championship for a reason. It doesn't matter if they're going against Edna Karr or John Curtis Christian High School. It doesn't matter. You know, they're in the state championship game for a reason, and that's how we have to look at it. We have to prepare, and we have to prepare, and we have to prepare some more. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brice. Again, 3:30 Saturday afternoon, Karr against Lakeshore. In his 4th season at Hahnville, he previously served as the head coach at East Jefferson, Chalmette, Abbeville, and Oconee, Georgia. He guided the Warriors to their first and only state championship in 2013. He was National Coach of the Year. And he has his 10th-seeded Hahnville Tigers in the 5A state semifinals for the first time since 2003. Semifinals. How about the finals, championship game? They'll play the, of course, pretty good football team in Zachary, the 4th seed, coming up Saturday night. That game is at 7 p.m. or thereabouts. Please give a warm quarterback club welcome to Coach Nick Saltaformaggio of the Hahnville Tigers.
Thank you, everybody. It's always a pleasure to be here. I want to thank Crescent City Sports, Sugar Bowl Foundation, Kenny for having me come up here. This is the best one to come to because, you know, you're playing the state championship game. Just a little bit about where we are right now. Well, before I do that, I better not make the same mistake I made last time. I have to introduce the most important people to me. Coach Brian Lumar, our principal, and I don't do social media much, but on Facebook, on the Hahnville Facebook page, one of the best pictures I've ever seen, and Mickey Joseph was at school yesterday talking to Anthony, and he said, that's the principal I want to work for, because after we scored the 2-point play on Acadiana, he jumped on one of our offensive linemen's backs and was getting a piggyback down the sideline with his finger in the air. But Coach Brian Lumar, our principal, Mr. Sean Hyden, our assistant principal, Coach Jasper Vanette, who's one of our offensive line coaches, but also does our prayer service, and I'll speak a little bit about in a second. Coach Mike Silva's here somewhere. I know they got extra bread pudding, but he's in the back. He's our offensive coordinator. And my head coach, my beautiful wife Sharon, is here. So a little bit about what we're trying to accomplish and a little bit about Hahnville. Number one, I know Mr. Bonine and the LHSAA has to be extremely happy because the last 3 gates, which they get 10% of, at Ruston, at Hahnville, and at Acadiana, we had a parent, we have, you know, Sky Coach, and we had a parent nudging up against Coach Silver on our sideline the other night, pointing out something on Sky Coach, because that's how many people were at these games. But I really appreciate being back to it. Back to Coach Vanetti, handles our prayer service, and I read the scripture every day, and I went to him today just out of luck, and I read Matthew 22, Coach JT, and it said, you know, many are called, but few are chosen. So it was kind of apropos that we're here today, a few of us being chosen. A little bit about the Hahnville fans. We were in a war. We've been in a war, it seems, the last 3 weeks. I know all of us have. But we were down 21-14, middle of the second quarter. And we have a fake or a surprise onside kick that Carlton Cisco taught me, who played for Coach JT. We call it Mayday. So I looked at our kicker and I said, look, we're going to Mayday these guys right now. They're not expecting it, but I need you to come to the sideline with it. Don't go up the middle of the field. So we Maydayed it, we got it, and then we're sitting there with a first down, momentum on our side, and we decided to throw the ball. And I don't know if you follow this. If we threw the ball off the causeway, we wouldn't throw it in Lake Pontchartrain, you know. But we threw the ball, and it got intercepted. And then Acadiana goes down and scores right before half to make it 28-14. Well, anyway, we win the game. We go for 2. We win the game. Everybody's elated, going all over the place, as you would imagine. And I'm walking out the stands, walking out off the field and out of the stands. One of the Hahnville fans says, what idiot decided to throw the ball after they recovered that kick? And I looked up and I said, you know what, Dad? You don't need to go to the game next week, you know? So that tells you a little bit about the Hahnville fans, but there'll be a lot of people. We put our tickets on sale this morning. We sold out. We were done. So we're going to Ticketmaster tomorrow morning to get some more. It's just an honor to get Hahnville back in the Superdome. You know, it's a place that school should be. It's been there a bunch of times. They've had great players. We have really, really great football players right now. And I mean, when you're in the state championship game, you know, everybody wants to use the word great, but you have to have great players to get in the Superdome. You know, sometimes, especially if you watch Anthony run, sometimes coaching is overrated a little bit. And, you know, very quickly, a side note on that, when we decided to go for 2, it was really an easy decision for me. We had just played 3 weeks ago in the second round at Ruston. We were kind of beat up a little bit, and then we played a very physical Covington team in the quarterfinals, and we were really beat up, and then we had just gone through a war against split back veer. You know, when you got to defend inside veer, outside veer, trap, I always said a team that has to run trap on 3rd and long would never beat a Hahnville team or an EJ team or a Chalmette team, but they were running trap on 3rd and long and just destroying us. We were going to go for 2, so I guess fortunately for us, we scored on the very first play of our overtime possession, so we didn't have time to think about it. And Acadiana helped us out and called timeout. When they called timeout, we sent the kids back out on the field with the play. Again, the best play, best player. But Acadiana defended the formation. So our quarterback turned around to Anthony and said, "Hey, Anthony, they got the formation defended." And Anthony looked at him and said, "It don't matter, I'm cutting back on these dudes." So, you know, coaching might be a little bit overrated sometimes. But again, it's just a pleasure to have Hahnville there. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful experience for our kids. I told them all week long, just enjoy it. Don't let the pressure's over. You've gotten Hahnville back in the Superdome, but we want to finish it. We know we play in a great Zachary team. 2 years ago in the quarterfinals, Zachary put a whooping on us. So hopefully, I try not to remember that. I'm not big into the revenge game. Let's live in this particular moment, this particular day, and our kids will be up to the task. So again, this is the best one to come to because you're playing the last weekend of the season. Any questions? Jim?
Before I ask the question, you realize the reason why you're here is the Shaw connection.
Ain't no question about it.
Coach, the obvious question of, you've been talking about Anthony for a long time.
Right.
And just talk about what it means to be able to coach him in his final game in the state championship game.
Well, I always said, I've said all along, and I'm glad it happened because it doesn't look like it's been a bunch of hyperbole or exaggeration, that if any kid deserved to be on that Superdome floor in front of the general population of prep football fans, it was Anthony Williams. I did call Miss Felicia, our superintendent, because he's obviously not going to play for Hahnville anymore, and I asked her if I had one of those $20 million buyouts like the college coaches have, but she said no, I didn't. I'd have to come to work the next day. So. But it'll be tough. It'll be tough, just like Ryan said, to seeing them all go. You know, because for those seniors, this is their moment they've worked for, and we're a relatively young team. We have a lot of football players on our team, but we only have 20 seniors, and so it'll be tough to see them all go. Anthony put us a year ahead of schedule. He really didn't do me any favors because next year everybody's going to think we're going to be great because we got a boatload of kids who are really good coming back. So, but you're right, Jim. If you haven't seen him play, it's definitely going to be worth the price of admission Friday night because, again, you know, all he did was go to Acadiana where people literally do not lose in the playoffs. And he had 224 yards, 3 rushing, and then again, I'm a firm believer. I'm a strong Catholic, and I learned that there is a God again Friday night because Acadiana's kicker kicked every kick in the end zone. No one kicks off to us. But he had kicked every kick in the end zone from every film we watched. And to start the second half, he kicked it off, and I thought it was going in the end zone. And Anthony reached back and caught it. And he was maybe 2 inches off the goal line. And when I saw the ref not doing this, I looked up. We're a cross wedge team. Well, when our guard and tackle kicked their 3 and 4 on one side, and then our guard and tackle kicked their 3 and 4 on the other side, and the 5s hit the wedge, it was Anthony and the kicker. And I did this. And it got us back in the game, and the rest is history, as they say. Any other questions?
Coach, talk about your district overall, playing with Destrehan, East St. John, and the Bayou teams.
Well, it really prepares you, and I know West St. John goes through this a lot. It prepares you for the playoffs, Randy, because when you play Destrehan, Hahnville, or Destrehan, East St. John, there's 10,000 people there. So, you know, it's crazy. You get used, I guess, if you can get used to playing in front of these crowds, so you're not awestruck when it happens, you know, the second, third, fourth round of state playoffs.
When they did kick off the second time, they went away from Anthony. Y'all still ran that one back. So
yeah,
y'all got some athletes on that team.
Well, we're fortunate. So does Zachary, though. So yeah, it was fun. And I'll tell you, the kid that sprung the block for the return was Anthony. You know, he threw a block and he sprung the return. But
and last week you said he was kind of a soft commit to Kansas. So with this performance and then what you're going to probably do in the Dome, you think it's going to open up as recruitment again?
I was on the phone today with Coach Frost, the new head coach in Nebraska, and I still, as old as I am, I still get starstruck by those guys. And I'm like, man, I remember when you were running a triple option at Nebraska. You know, Coach JT knows him a whole lot better than I do. But yeah, I'm just, again, I'm thankful to be here. And I told Coach JT this one time, you never get tired of going to the Dome. You never get tired. So thank you, and come out and support high school football in the LHSAA this weekend.
Thank you, Nick. Come a long way since Lakeshore Playground, buddy. It's all good. We knew each other when we were real little. He's in his 49th year, the winningest coach in Louisiana prep football history, second winningest coach in United States prep football history, 572 wins on the field, 26 state championships on the field. As his second-seeded Patriots in the Division I state championship game Saturday at noon against the 4th seed Catholic High Bears of Baton Rouge in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Please give a warm welcome to Coach JT Curtis. JT.
Thank you. It is good to be back here, but I want to congratulate all the men that are here and really all the teams that are in this game. You earn your way here. There is no rite of passage. There is no you deserve to be. There is no destiny. You earn it on the field, and you take your team to the Dome with the expectation of winning. And that's what high school athletics should be about. It should be about teaching young people how to earn their way and how to pay the price and how to make the sacrifices in order to have a chance to compete at the very highest level. And so, to me, that's one of the great values of high school sports, and to be able to showcase our people, our young people in the Louisiana Superdome is just a tremendous opportunity for them. It's the envy of championships across the country. I get that question as much as anything when I talk and visit with people from around the country. What is it like to play in that atmosphere? And when you walk in that floor off Girard Street and your kids look up into the massiveness of that stadium, it is just awe-inspiring. And so we are really thankful for the opportunity to be able to play in the Superdome and for our team to play. We're going to be playing Catholic High, a team that found itself about midway through the season. They struggled a little bit early in the season, and about halfway through the season, they begin to identify themselves as a team. And that's the great thing about high school football. We have to take the players that we're blessed with that year, and we have to mold them into your unit, into your team. They have to develop their own identity, new leadership, a new direction, a new way to attack the defense, a new way to play defense, because they're a brand new group of kids. And that's one of the reasons that it never gets old. People ask me all the time, does it ever get old? I said, it can't get old because it's a new experience every year. Every year it's a new team and a new identity. But this team, without question, found itself and had a tremendous run through the playoffs. They have played tremendous defense. They held St. Augustine High School, who you're very familiar with, the 3 points in their quarterfinal game. In their semifinal game, they went on the road to Evangel, held Evangel to 6 points. And they have played tremendous defense, and they have done extremely well in special teams. They scored one of their touchdowns against Evangel on a pick six, and they scored the other one on a block punt. So they're a very well-coached team, and they're, again, a team that plays within themselves. We're playing good football. I'm concerned about having the 2 off weeks within a 4-week period. But that's the challenge of it. It is what it is. There's no sense in fussing about it. You have to get yourself ready to play, and you have to find a formula that's going to be successful for your team. We think we've done that. We had a good week last week of trying to not focus specifically on Catholic High, but to focus on our skills and our talents and to sharpen up some of those areas that we need to get better at. Like all teams, we have some guys that are banged up a little bit and may not play, but that just gives an opportunity for another young man to step up and to play. We're going to coach every one of them every day, and we're going to tell them that they're a play away from stepping in and having to perform. And I think that expectation gives them an opportunity to compete at a very, very high level. So we're really thankful for the opportunity to play. We're looking forward to playing Saturday at 12 noon. We're going to eat our pregame meal about 7:30, 7:45, and then we're going to get on the bus and get into the Dome and get ready to play the game. I know we've been kind of long today, so I'm going to cut mine a little short, but I'll be glad to answer any questions that I can for you. Yes, sir.
Coach, last year you guys had plenty of juniors, and you go and you have a rare loss in the semifinals to Evangel, and you just talk about the process since then that your team has gone through to get back to this point.
Well, you know, they kind of set themselves at that point to try to have an opportunity to compete for a championship. It was a very disappointing loss, but we lost to an excellent team. And they kind of set their goal in the offseason to get into the Dome. And here's the great thing about athletics. In the second game of the season, playing in Shreveport, we lost our top running back. A great kid and a great player and a leader of our team. And so we had one or two directions to go. We had to unite ourselves together and develop new leadership, or we had to go pout in the corner and say, oh, woe is me. And what they did was join themselves together and they directed new leadership, and we've been able to have a nice run and put ourselves in a position to compete for the highest honor our state has to offer. So it's been a team that's really been exciting to be around. They're a team that is on a mission and a goal-driven direction to get themselves an opportunity to compete, and they have exactly done that.
Marquise kind of got them to rally around them as well.
Say that again?
He said Marquise sort of got them.
There's no doubt. He said Marquise has been a guy they've rallied around. Marquise tore his ACL. He actually played about a half of the second game of the season. At the end of the spring training, we do a deal where we take our last lap, and as they come through to go in the locker room, all the kids high-five him. And when he was going through the locker room, he hit a hand, and cut to the chase, he broke a bone in his hand. And the doctor didn't want to do surgery. He wanted to keep him in the cast. We did that. So he didn't get to play in the Jamboree or didn't get to play in the first game against Landry Walker. But he did get to go to Shreveport and play. And right after the second quarter, in the beginning of the third quarter, he tore his ACL and he tore his MCL and had a pretty serious knee injury. So he was at the game the next week and asked could he go out on the field against Parkview Baptist in a wheelchair and be a captain. And I know he was hurt, but that was his team. And that's what I want them all to feel, that this is their team. They all belong to a part of this. And he has been at every game. He'll be on the sideline. He'll be a captain Saturday afternoon along with some other guys that have deserved that honor. And we're really excited to give him the opportunity to be there for us to have a chance to win a championship. Anybody else? Well, good. Before I go, let me recognize a former player. Lenny Dubrow, would you raise your hand? Lenny Dubrow played on my first team, I think it was 8 years ago. He was a running back, and his father and his family and his brothers were a tremendous asset to our school, and they're a tremendous asset to the community. His older brother Greg lives in Baton Rouge. Lenny's across the lake, and they're a great family, and that's what our high school athletics should be about, building our community with great citizens, and Lenny's one of those. Thank you for that, Lenny. I appreciate you.